Welcome to this first part for exploring an untold story of the history of North Africa and the Mediterranean. We're going to start with two very interesting accounts that we looked at in this series. The first one, the Canaanites fleeing to North Africa. Let's look at a timeline just to get a rough idea of the time frame for this period. So we see here the Exodus. So we're going to say roughly around 1500 BC. Not saying this is the most accurate, I'm just choosing something for us so that we have something to work with. So this is a very interesting account of the Canaanites fleeing to North Africa from Joshua, son of Nun, and let's say roughly around 1500 BC. So that could have lots of implications. One, it could have an impact on how you view the territory of the Israelites. If the Canaanites are fleeing to North Africa, where are they fleeing from? But it could also impact the picture or the way we see the history of the Canaanites or the Phoenicians, because the Canaanites are connected to the Phoenicians, with the land of Canaan being called Phoenicia. So if we go to the page on Phoenicia, we see the traditional founding date for the Phoenician colony of Cadiz, so this is southern Spain, around 1110 BC. So this is what we presented with, that the Phoenicians are coming into this region around 1110 BC. But with this account of the Canaanites fleeing to North Africa from Joshua, and this would be around 1500 BC, that's about 400 years before this founding of Cadiz in southern Spain. So that would mean that the Canaanites would be influenced in this region much earlier. So we can see how these details could impact the way we view the history of North Africa coming to the Mediterranean. But then also, like I said, how does it impact the way we view the territory of the Israelites? And let's speak about another account. This one was with the Philistines, that in the time of King David, the Philistines were being chased into this region of North Africa. And we saw the Philistines being connected with some Berber tribes, that the traditions of the Berbers themselves, that they descend from the Philistines, from Goliath, the giant of the Philistines. Okay, so for this period, we see here we've got Solomon. King David was the father of Solomon, so we're looking roughly around 1000 BC. So about 500 years after the Exodus, or 400 years after the Exodus, we have this account of the Philistines being chased into North Africa by the Israelites. So again, it makes you wonder about, where are these stories taking place from the Bible? But that's not the only... it wasn't just the Philistines and some of these Canaanite tribes like the Girgashites and the Jebusites that we saw being in these accounts fleeing to North Africa. We also did a video speaking about the Amorites. So the Amorites descended from Canaan, son of Ham, with the Amorites living in the Atlas Mountains. And we saw there was a connection with the Berber tribes and the Amorites. So the Amorites, we learn that they were a mountain people, and then also we have some Berber tribes, living in the mountains. So another tribe or peoples from the Bible, being connected with this region, and we saw this connection from a different source, the Hittites, the story of a forgotten empire, where it speaks about the Amorites being of the same race as the Libyans of northern Africa. So very interesting. And also we saw the Hittites with the same connection. This was from a different source, a study comparing the Hittites and the Etruscans. We saw the Hittites being connected with the white Libyans, with this reference to the white Syrians. So some sources connecting the white Syrians with the Hittites. So now if you do know about the Hittites, you've studied the Hittites, and you know about the history of the Hittites, you may not have heard of Hittites in Libya. That's not what we taught about the Hittites. We talked about their domain being in the modern day country of Turkey. This might be new to you if you've just come across this channel with this video, that we have the Hittites being connected with Libya. So if we think about that, we've got the Philistines, the Amorites, and the Hittites, and some other Canaanite tribes, being connected with this region. So that's the first part of this video for this region, for this history of this region, the untold story. Could it be connected with the history of the Bible and the history of the Israelites? Now we're going to move more towards the mythology and the legends. We did a video speaking about Sparta and the Spartans. And we have Atlantic researchers that are looking for the Spartans towards, let's say, Western Europe and Northern Africa. So looking towards the Atlantic for the Spartans. Some interesting things came up from this research. We have places like Cape Spartel. This is by the Straits of Gibraltar, or also known as the Pillars of Hercules. And we notice here it says the Caves of Hercules in this region as well. So we've got the Caves of Hercules, the Pillars of Hercules. So this region here. Now we see let's find that again, hold on. We have the element of Sparta, Sparte, in the Spartel. And if we look at the origin of this word, we can see that it could be coming from this cordage, which is made from this from the grasses. And we see the distribution of this grass. I think it's called the broom plant. But this is where this word Sparta could be coming from Sparto or Spartum. And you see the distribution. So is it fair to make this connection that if this word Sparta is connected with this cordage, and this is the distribution, to be looking for the Spartans towards the Atlantic? And when we were looking at Lake Tritonus, so we're still in like the legend or the mythology, this legendary lake. And the theory is that it could be in this region of Algeria or Tunisia. Let me show you. So we have this potential for this lake being in this region. So if we say, roughly in this region, Lake Tritonus, it's very interesting what Herodotus says. So the historian Herodotus, that the Spartans colonizing this area. So yeah, very interesting with the Spartans, because these Atlantic researchers saying we should be looking for the Spartans, in this region. We see this connection with the cordage, with this grass, and the distribution. Now we do have a source speaking about the Spartans moving into Libya and colonizing Libya. So this is very interesting for the Spartans. And we'll go a bit further, because we have Plutarch, another historian, speaking about a son of Hercules named Sophax, and relates that Sparta was founded by Hercules. So this account speaking about Sparta being founded by Hercules, but in that same sentence, as it's speaking about Sparta, it mentions Sophax. So we'll try and learn about Sophax. So notice where Sophax is connected with. So now we're seeing the Berbers. So the Berber mythology and the Greek mythology. So what is the connection with the Berber world and the Greek world? And we notice at the top how we started with the Philistines being connected to the Berbers. But was Goliath a Greek Philistine champion? So we're trying to understand this Greek world. Okay, so if we go back to that page, on Sophax, we see that he's connected with North Africa, because it says that he could be the the founder of Tangier. So Tangier in northern Morocco. And it says, according to Berber mythology, many of the Berber kings are descendants of Sufax. So that would mean many Berber kings descendant of Hercules, the Greek demigod. And it says that Sufax had a son called Diodorus. So this could be an important name because Dorus would be a name that's connected with the Dorians and the Spartans. So is that why we have the mentioning of Hercules? Yeah, of Hercules, and we have Sparta in the same sentence with Sufax because of that descendant Diodorus. Is that the connection of the Dorians and the Spartans? But just think about the region. We're speaking about the Berbers. And it says that the son Diodorus reigned over many North African Berber tribes with the help of the Olympians. So the Olympians are the pantheon of the Greek gods, so the 12 Greek gods. But they're helping Diodorus, so a descendant of Hercules, rule over the Berbers. So very interesting how we are looking at the mythology. We're getting a very interesting story or picture starting to show itself here. That if we consider the mythology and the legends, we could learn a lot about this region. Okay, so this is actually an edit to the original video. I made a few mistakes that I would like to try correct in this video. But while we have this short intermission, I just want to let you know about our other playlist. We have another playlist called The Roman Empire and the Holy Land. And this is like a foundation playlist. So if you're watching this video and you're new to the channel and you're thinking, well, how does this impact the other parts of our history, like the other major empires? Then please take a look at this playlist and that'll help you see the picture that we're working on to try explain what we're covering now. But let's get ready to get back into this video. So let me get ready for the sound. I hope you're finding this video interesting, and yeah, hopefully we'll get some interesting comments from those watching if you'd like to share what you maybe know about some of these things. Okay, let's get ready to go back in. So we'll try and now explore Hercules, because we have these stories or these accounts of Hercules having armies. So in this example we have this Diodorus, a descendant of Hercules, ruling over the Libyans or the Berbers with a Greek army. So Mycenaeans and Albians. So this is very interesting because this would mean there would be Mycenaeans in North Africa. So this would be Greek Mycenaeans. So just to kind of link some of this together, where we said in this video, was Goliath a Greek Philistine champion? So then according to these accounts, we would have a Greek army left in this region by Hercules, and a part of that would be Mycenaeans. So is there a connection of the Mycenaean world in this region that we are speaking of? So yeah, lots of different things to explore and think about, but let's carry on. So that's one army, but then we have a different account. This is from Sallust, speaking about an army of Hercules with Medes, Persians, and Armenians. So this is where you have to say, at first, it doesn't seem to make sense. So this Greek army of Hercules, you can say, makes sense because we're told that Hercules is a Greek demigod. So having a Greek army would make sense. But how come in this source now there's Persians in an army of Hercules? And we know the animosity of the Persians and the Greeks. The famous wars of the Persians against the Greeks. So then it seems strange. Why would Hercules have an army of Persians and Medes? So we'll try to see if we can explain that. We did a video speaking about Hercules. Was he a king of Egypt? So then when you start to consider this, the way you view Hercules starts to change. Because if you only view him as a Greek demigod, then when you come across sources that say he's got Persians in his army, that's not going to make sense. But when you start to consider Hercules as a king of Egypt, then your picture is starting to change. And if we go to another source, speaking about an army of Hercules, this is from Josephus, speaking about Hercules fighting against Libya and Antiochus in North Africa. But in this army he has Midianites. So I'm not going to read this all out, but if you'd like to pause, you can read this to see where Abraham from the Bible is settling some of his descendants from his wife Keturah. Think about where they're being settled, and these would be Midianites. So I'll just go to a map to try. Now I'm not saying this is 100% accurate, just generally, if you can see my cursor, these descendants of Abraham by his wife Keturah, would be in this region. So if Hercules is a king of Egypt, then you could see how he could draw from armies from this region and how it could be Midianites. So I'm just trying to show that if we only think about what we learn in school about the Greeks, that Hercules is a Greek demigod, and you only have that kind of picture of what we taught about the Greek world, a lot of these sources aren't going to make sense, and they might just be dismissed because it might seem too fanciful for Persians to be in an army of Hercules. But when you consider him as an Egyptian king, then the picture starts to change. And then when you see all these other sources, it just means that you have to maybe relearn, just have to what you learned at school or at university put to one side, and then see how it changes. But what we're getting now is from the mythology and also the historical record, because the Spartans are on the historical record. But we're seeing the Spartans and Hercules very strongly connected with this region of North Africa and Spain. And then does it make sense with him being described as a king of Egypt? Because the source of Sir Isaac Newton speaks about an empire of Egypt. And we did a video about, Hercules, this empire, this great Egyptian empire. Was Hercules an Egyptian pharaoh? Because then you would have an Egyptian empire spreading to the Atlantic. So then what we're seeing with the mythology is there's a lot of history actually happening here, coming to us from the legends and the myths. But is there truth to those legends and myths? Okay, so what I want to think about now is the Berber religion. Because we do know for quite a while we've had this idea of, what's Greek coming from Egypt. That's been around for quite a while. But what about the Berbers and the Libyan world? So I'd just like to speak about that. Some very interesting things on this page. I just want to think which one it was. We see in this one it says that Athena may have been born in Lake Tritonus. So Athena, one of the Olympians, the Greek Olympians, coming from Libya. So that's why we were looking at Lake Tritonus, because we were exploring Athena. So Athena, one of the Olympians, according to these accounts, could be coming from Libya. So again, it makes you start to wonder about this Greek mythology and this Greek world and this connection with the Berbers and Libya. But there's another very interesting one here I would like to read to you. It was to do with the Egyptian. So Amun and Amunet, the Egyptian gods or the Egyptian religion, may have actually originated with the Berbers and Libya. But notice how it says here, although most modern sources ignore the existence of Amun and Amunet in the Berber mythology. So is that what's going on? That the Berber world or the Libya world, is being ignored. Why is this region being neglected or ignored? Because it seems like a lot of this mythology is actually, well, it could be coming from Libya and the Berber world. Okay, to finish this first part, I'd like to speak about the chariot. We did a video, can the invention of the chariot reveal the truth about the history of North Africa? So the Arya, the Indo-Arya. So when we look at what we told about the chariot, this was very interesting. Notice this map for the spread of the chariot. I just want to see if I got a bit of a bigger map. So according to this page, the chariot would have been invented, towards Russia, and then we're thinking about Egypt here. So what it's saying is that Egypt would have received the chariot, this, if you want to say this technology, this form of transportation, but also warfare, coming to Egypt from this region. But what about the artwork in the Sahara? We have this rock art dated, potentially 3,000 years ago, of the chariot in Africa, in the Sahara Desert. So you can see again, this is like going against what we've been told or presented with this page, saying that the chariot was invented in, let's say, roughly Russia, and then it's spreading out through what they say is this culture of the Arya, so the Indo-Aryans or the Indo-Iranians. Just see if I can find that. Yeah, it says it here, just so you can see where we're getting this from. So that this chariots could have been spread by the Indo-Arya. And notice how, we don't see anything here for Africa. So if it is when it's coming to Egypt, it's coming from the east. But then how come you have the artwork, dated roughly 3,000 years ago, so say 2000 BC, of the chariot in the Sahara Desert? So then where is the origin of the chariots? So it's just an interesting way of, something like the chariot, could it bring you to the truth for this region? So it was very interesting when we looked at the mythology, that the mythology could give us the answer. Because when we looked at Poseidon, so another one of the gods of the Greek Olympian, so one of the Olympians, it says that Poseidon could have been the creator of the horse. And this the skill of working with the horses, with the chariots, could be coming from Poseidon. And if we go back to this very interesting page on the Berber mythology, I just want to find this for you. This was very interesting. It speaks about Poseidon and the Berbers. That Poseidon was first worshipped by the Libyans or by the Berbers. So again, what we think as Greek, this Greek mythology, Poseidon, an important god of the Greek pantheon, may first have been worshipped by the Berbers or the Libyans. But if Poseidon is connected with this knowledge of the chariots and the creation of the horse, but he was first worshipped in Libya, then we could see that we have the artwork. So we have physical evidence of the artwork in this region, but then also, strangely with the mythology, we have an answer with the mythology of why this region could be, where the chariot started. With Poseidon being connected with this region of Atlas and the Atlantic. We'll speak about that. yes, that was very interesting, and I think Herodotus does speak about it. It says it here about the Greeks learning how to yoke 4 horses from the Libyans. So the Libyans having this expertise, and the Greeks are learning from the Libyans. Does that make sense with the Libyans being the first to worship Poseidon? And was it Poseidon who had this knowledge and this skill with the chariot, being the friend of the charioteers? And if we just go back to this page on the chariot, I know this is a lot of details to cover, but it's also interesting how it says here that the Hittites could have been the first. This is the first account of chariot warfare with the Hittites. But remember how we spoke about the Hittites being connected with the white Libyans. So it all starts to kind of make sense how we're having the Hittites connected with the white Libyans. So you could have Hittites in North Africa, and the Hittites being one of the first nations to be mentioned with chariot warfare, with their war against Egypt. But is this actually the setting? So it's not what we've been told. So I hope you're finding it very interesting, this first part, exploring this untold story for this region. And we're just trying to slowly learn a bit more about the mythology and the legends with, was Hercules actually a king of Egypt? In this, so Isaac Newton gives some very interesting details, because we said here that this army of the Midianites with Hercules fighting against Libya and Antaeus. So Antaeus is connected with Libya, but we get a very interesting detail from Sir Isaac Newton, who connects Antaeus with Atlas. So Antaeus, a son of Poseidon, so we've spoken about Poseidon, but Atlas is also connected with Poseidon. And we have this mountain range, the Atlas mountain range, and Atlas, king of Mauritania. So just so we can slowly maybe get an idea of what this history coming to us from the mythology and the legends is saying, that we have this rivalry with Egypt and the Atlanteans. So it would be Antaeus or Atlas. And then we learn here from this source about Hercules fighting against Antaeus or Atlas. But now we're thinking about Hercules as potentially a pharaoh or a king of Egypt. So it would be Egypt with this rivalry against the Atlanteans, but it's Hercules as the king of Egypt. And he's defeating Antaeus or Atlas. So he's taking this Atlantean world away from the descendants of Poseidon. And then if we go back to this source to kind of bring it together, it's saying that Hercules is leaving descendants behind in this region. So, once he's taken this world away from the Atlanteans or Atlas or Antaeus, he's leaving his own descendants in this region, because we know about the journeys of Hercules with this, with the Hercules and the pillars of Hercules, with all those labors and those myths with Hercules. So he goes on journeys and he leaves descendants behind. But these descendants with the Berbers and Libya, it's been connected with the Spartans, because we see this element of Doris and the Dorians. Okay, so this is the final edit for this video. I made a few mistakes that I would like to correct. So the first one, when we were speaking about the Berber mythology and the Egyptian mythology, the Amun and the Amunet, this example, it's actually a shared belief between the two. So it didn't originate with the Berbers according to this page. I got a little bit confused. The one I was looking for was actually Osiris. So it says here that Osiris may have actually originated in Libya, so being a Libyan god, and then coming to Egypt. And that's very interesting because Osiris, a very famous Egyptian god, and more interesting when we think about the work of Sir Isaac Newton, because according to this work, all of these names could be connected. So Osiris could be the same as Hercules. So if this is true, then you could say that Hercules was originally a Libyan god. So again, it makes it very interesting for this mythology where we have Poseidon connected with the Libyans and Athena and maybe even Hercules. So yeah, that's very interesting. So that's one correction. The other one was with the chariot. I got my maths quite bad here, quite a bad example here to show my poor math skills. So 3,000 years ago wouldn't be 2000 BC, it would be 1000 BC. So that was a bit of a bad mistake, and then that could impact what we were speaking about, because if we go back to this map, then you could try and make an argument that this could still make sense, that the chariot could get to the Sahara around 1000 BC, then you could make an argument that this could actually still work. So it's important that I make that correction, but it does say probably dates back. So can we trust this dating? But I don't want to take down the theory. I think it's still a very plausible theory when you have this artwork in the Sahara, and then also very interestingly the mythology seeming to back it up with Poseidon teaching men the art of managing horses. So if he's teaching men, and the first person that worshipped the Poseidon were the Libyans, so was it the Libyans that actually had this knowledge first? Then it makes sense with Herodotus saying that the Greeks were learning from the Libyans. So I still think it's a very plausible to ask, was the chariot actually invented or spread out from this region of the Sahara Desert? And just to further support that, thinking about with what we thinking about things we covered in the video, we spoke about the Mycenaeans, this Greek army left behind by Hercules, so Mycenaeans. So if Hercules is bringing a Greek army into North Africa, we know that the Mycenaeans were actually, well, they would have had chariots in their army. So I think that's also plausible for this theory. The fact that the Mycenaean culture, is known for chariot warfare, and then there'll be a Greek army in this region. And then we also have to think about Hercules. We are speaking a lot about mythology in this video, so we are considering, was Hercules actually a real person? And then what date would you put on Hercules? I'm not going to make any guesses, but I would strongly suspect if it was real, the stories of Hercules, it's long before 3,000 years ago. So then that would support again this idea of the chariot originating in North Africa. And we also had the video speaking about the Trojans. The Trojans connected with North Africa, and the Trojan could be another tribe or nation that were known for using the chariots. So another connection potentially for the chariots and North Africa. The other thing we were speaking about on this page was the chariot spread by the Indo-Arya. So Aryan nations spreading the chariot. And then also we must think about what we've already said in the video, because in these sources, Hercules bringing Medes and Persians and Armenians into this region of North Africa, these would be Aryan nations. And also we mentioned this connection with the Hittites and the white Libyans. So that potential is for many Aryan nations in this region, with the Medes, the Persians, the Hittites, and even maybe the Midianites as well, could have been an Aryan nation. We did do a video speaking about this with the Medes being an Aryan nation. So I just want to show you something to finish this video that I thought was very interesting, because on the page of the Medes, it says that the Medes were formerly called by everyone Aryans. But when the Colchian woman Medea came from Athens to the Aryans, they changed their name like the Persians. This is the Medes' own account of themselves. So the Medes would have known themselves as the Arya, but then changed their name because of Medea coming to live with them. and we were speaking about the Berbers, that they refer to themselves as the Amazai, which could mean the free man or noble. And these are definitions that we saw matched up with the Arya. So would the Berbers have thought of themselves as Arya, an Arya nation or Arya people? So then you would have the Arya in North Africa with the Berbers. Then I came across this Media in Algeria. So a province of Algeria called Media, and we see here it has the meaning of halfway. So media, we spoke about this in this foundation, that Madai, could mean halfway. So that's very interesting that we have actually in Algeria, this region that we're speaking about, this place called Media. Is that matching the mythology, where it says Media, came to the Aryans and they changed their name to the Medes? And we're thinking also about this account with the Medes and Persians being connected to this region. So very interesting. I'm not sure, they do give an explanation for this. There's an explanation for this. Is that true? Or is it really connected to the Medes? So it needs to be investigated. But that would be more evidence to support this idea for the chariot, because then you would have Aryan nations in this region. You also have the artwork with the chariot and the mythology also speaking about Poseidon. So we've spoken about that. I won't repeat that again. So yeah, was the chariot actually first used in this region and then coming to Egypt? So I'm coming from the west, not from the east. So I think that's it for this video. I don't think there was any other corrections. That's the first part of our summary for this series. I hope you found this one interesting and you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel and if you have any questions, because I know it could be quite a lot to take in, please leave a comment and we can maybe follow up on the questions. So thank you for watching this part, and hopefully we'll see you in part 2.